Hello and good evening. My name is Greg Buck Dietzen, and you are watching The Buck Stops Here. I'm a big Viking fan, and I just want to talk about sports. I want to talk about football, a little professional wrestling here and there. I've followed wrestling since I was little, so I like to watch and try and predict and figure out what the writers and what they're going to do. As we all know, wrestling is fake. But I'll tell you that what they do isn't fake, but it's all, predicted outcomes. So they know going in, unless there's an injury or something major happens, what's going to happen when they come out. They're very good actors, but again, I like to try and predict what's going to happen 3 months down the road with a faction or with a title, and I'm pretty good about it. I'm not always great right at the pay-per-views on picking each match, but in the long term, I'm pretty good, I think, at getting what direction they're going to go. Today I'm here to introduce myself, talk a little bit about my Minnesota Vikings. I'm not part of the team, but I might as well be because I've bled purple since I was little. So, a little history on my name. My real middle name is not Buck. I was in a tabletop fantasy baseball league. Anybody who knows anything about tabletop, it's kind of like Stratomatic. We have cards that have numbers on them, and a dice roll of 3 10-sided dice determines the outcome of each play. You could roll on a batter's card, or you could roll on a pitcher's card, and it'll tell you home run, strikeout, double, send you to another chart for a special play. And it's actually a very, it works your mind. I'm a competitor, and I really retired because I was just so, every time I didn't win a game that I thought I should win. Now, if I went into a team that should whoop me, I was pretty good with it. But if I thought I should beat somebody, I'm very frustrated coming out. I'm coming out of retirement this year, bringing my Orlando Sharks back into my league, but that's another story. The way I got my nickname Buck, I was in a game against a team that had Barry Bonds. And Barry Bonds had ridiculous numbers on home run ranges, like just, it was crazy, 70s, 80s, 90s. The average, power guy had a 45, and you're like, yeah, this is great, I've got a 45 home run range. Bonds, 70, 89, just ridiculous numbers on both sides of his card. So I'm winning by 2 or 3 runs, and the bases are loaded, and there's 2 outs, and Bonds is up. And the guy up after Bonds is not Bonds, so he's not as scary as pitching to Bonds. So I walked him. I walked Bonds with the bases loaded and walked in a run. Got the next guy out. I ended up winning the game, and it was, just outside the ordinary, which is, it's called buck ball when you do things most people wouldn't do. You steal a base with the guy that wouldn't steal, but this is how it all started. So a few days later in Major League Baseball, Buck Showalter, who was the manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks, was playing the San Francisco Giants. And he had a lead and had the bases loaded, and he walked Barry Bonds and walked in a run. I believe I hadn't sent in my recaps yet. So when the recaps actually came in, one of the managers looked at it and was like, look at that. That's exactly what Showalter did. This is Buck all over again. And the nickname just stuck. So I go by, Greg to my family, but when I'm in my baseball league or I'm doing something with sports, it's Buck. So that is how I got my name. My show, I'm going to call this The Buck Stops Here, just simply because it's a great play on words. Has nothing else to do with anything. So thank you for watching. We're going to talk a little bit about Thursday night football coming up. That'll be tomorrow night. It'll be the Cincinnati Bengals and the Miami Dolphins in Cincinnati. But we're going to talk a little bit, let you get to know me, Minnesota Vikings football. I won't do this every week. I'm not going to bore everybody with my rants and raves and what happened, good or bad, or how great my team is, but I'm going to do it today because this is me. So we're looking at a 3-0 team, and coming into the season, there was talk from everywhere. This is a Super Bowl possible team, Super Bowl contenders, Adrian Peterson. You got Teddy Bridgewater coming into his own. We just drafted Laquan Treadwell. This defense that just looks, coming out of last year and starting off this year, phenomenal. going into the last week of preseason. Teddy Bridgewater in practice steps back to pass the ball, sprains his knee, tears his ACL, done for the season. And like, my life was crushed. I had tickets to the Titans-Vikings game opening day, and I was ready to sell them. I came home and telling my wife, I was like, this is horrible. Like, I don't even want to go to the game. I had all these great season, and now it's going to be another year. So I got past that a day or two, and I was talking to a real good friend of mine, Coop, and I was like, it'd be great if the Vikings did something crazy, like went out and traded for Sam Bradford. And I know that sounds crazy, and they've already done it, but I know that sounds crazy. But my whole point was Bradford's not happy in Philly. He came out of last year great at the end of the season. He has one of the best career touchdown interception. Well, all right, he doesn't throw a lot of touchdowns either, but his interception ratio is lower than most of your other quarterbacks. He's very accurate, strong arm, and our offense styles West Coast. With Adrian Peterson in the backfield, a good offensive line, and a great defense, the receivers to throw it to, Bradford was a perfect thought in my eyes. So I'm at work Saturday, and I hear my phone, the ESPN, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, and I go check it. I wasn't busy. It was early in the morning. It had nothing been going on yet. And it says, headline all I could see was, Eagles trade Sam Bradford. And my heart just starts racing and pumping, and so I grab my phone, and I found out and I get it open, and it says to the Minnesota Vikings for a 1st and 4th round pick. And I screamed like a little girl. I was ecstatic. I was like, oh my gosh, I said they needed to do that, and look what happened. So he's not the savior of the world. He's not the savior of, the football world. But I felt that was the perfect fit to go to our team. He's got a line, he's got a running back, and he's got a defense. And so far, knock on wood, he's 2-0 and hasn't messed that up yet. So I'm excited to see how much farther we can take with Bradford. That takes us to week 2 when we played the Green Bay Packers in that brand new stadium in Minnesota. Adrian Peterson struggling to run for the first 2 games because people are putting 9 men in the box, daring Sam Bradford to beat him, which that's what you need to do. We're not going to let Peterson break that. We're going to keep him, 30 yards a game or less if we can. And Sean Hill, of course, went game 1 because Bradford just wasn't ready. So Peterson makes that cut, gets hit, goes down, doesn't get up. Season over for Peterson. You lose your quarterback, you lose your running back. That was horrible. Sorry about that. You lose your running back, you lose your quarterback, but I didn't hit panic mode. My first thought was, this is okay. We can win without Peterson, and I hate to say that because he's the face of our franchise right now, one of the best running backs to ever play the game. But here's why. Green Bay and Tennessee were putting 8 and 9 men in the box. Tennessee at one point only had the 2 safeties back. You're not going to do that to stop Jerick McKinnon or Matt Asiata. You're just not. They're not the type of guys you have to worry about. Any play, they could break it for 80 yards. I mean, McKinnon can break one for 80 yards, but he's not going to do, you have to worry about any play. It's not one of those. He's not the home run guy that Peterson is. So what defenses are going to do now is they're going to back off and play a little more of a zone. They're not going to have 8 or 9 men in the box. They're just going to have their forefront and probably blitz a linebacker or 2, put the other one back in a zone coverage. That opens up the running game. As we saw against Carolina, it helped the Vikings running game some. Even Bradford had some running yards. I mean, come on, the guy doesn't run. But what happened is that made it so now we're not a one-dimensional team. We got a passing game, we got a running game, and now people have to wonder, can Bradford beat us? And if we try and play back and put too many men back to stop Bradford, is McKinnon going to break that run? Or is Asiata going to break that run? Or are they going to hit Kyle Rudolph underneath and he's going to run through some people? The big thing that makes this work is that incredible defense that the Vikings have. You have 2 linebackers that went to UCLA, Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks. And these guys were roommates in UCLA. And they get drafted one after the other, 2 different years, and now they're roommates in Minnesota. So you already know they know how each other thinks. One's going to do one, one's going to do the other. They got it covered. Our defensive line has Everson Griffin and Donnell Hunter, and we have Tom Johnson is our 3rd string defensive tackle, and Sharif Floyd and Linville Joseph. The line is so solid and deep on defense. We can move guys in and out, and as you saw against the Panthers, 8 sacks on Cam Newton, a guy that's going to run on you. He didn't run anywhere. It's a defense to reckon with, and I think that's what's going to keep us in games. That's what's going to win us games, and that's what's going to take us deep into the playoffs. Now, we're only 3-0. It's early in the season, so I don't want to get real excited and be like, yeah, we're going to win the Super Bowl. This is great, because we've been the best team in the league a few times, and we've choked in the championship game in our own home. That was against the Atlanta Falcons, I believe, in '98. Talk about that another day. That's a real hard one to take. And then the Brett Favre year, where we were almost unbeatable, and they targeted Favre, and I know that was an investigation and blah, blah, but I said it during the game. They're like targeting him. They're trying to take him out, which I would do, but it really just, it looked like it was above and beyond a normal, oh, I hit him, yeah, I got him. It was, I'll take that extra late hit, and we'll take the penalty, and it worked. I mean, the Saints went on and won the Super Bowl. Congratulations to them. That was a great season for them. But as a Viking fan, it hurts. So, we don't have our starting quarterback. We don't have our starting running back. And I still feel positive about this season. I think that's the first time in a long time I've said that. But we had Peterson, 2 years ago. And Christian Ponder was our starter 3 years ago. And I was just not confident about that at all. So it really is a good team, a good defense. Zimmer's a great coach. And I really see good things coming out of this. So thank you for listening to me to blab about my Minnesota Vikings. Again, I won't do this every week. I'm going to make sure that I break this up, have a featured team. If you have a team you want me to spotlight, please email me at thebuckstopshere@yahoo.com. And that's underscore between each word, the_buck_stops_here. I know that's annoying. It just was all too jumbled together when I tried to put it all as one word. I wanted it broken up so y'all could know what it is and see what it is. And, maybe we'll shorten it a little. I'm going to go ahead and put this on my Facebook page when we're done, upload it to my YouTube, and I'll tweet out that everybody can jump on and take a look at it. I'm going to have fun doing this. I love talking about sports. I love trying to predict or build a team in my head. And watch it happen on the field. And I think everybody loves to do that. I try to go above and beyond and figure out this is what's going to happen, this is how it should work. I try and be a realist, and when I'm watching games, I'm really good about staying neutral, but when it's my team, it's hard. So if I'm watching a Viking game, I really got to just kind of realize, there's officials on the field making calls that they see. They're not biased, but it feels that way sometimes. When I'm watching like the Redskins-Giants this past week, that was a great game. It was a great called game. There weren't a lot of bad calls. There wasn't a lot of bad plays. Just two teams fighting it out, division rivals, and it was a great game. I really think it came down to last team that had the ball was going to win, and the Skins pulled that out. Kirk Cousins looked really good, which he had in all first 2 games of the year. So you got to be biased watching a game, even if it's your team playing, and it's real hard when it's your team when you bleed the color of the team. The Vikings, I think, are going to go far this year. We a Super Bowl team? I hope so. I don't want to say anything too early. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to, spoil something and ruin it for the team. So we're just going to let that pass. Coming up tomorrow night is the Miami Dolphins at the Cincinnati Bengals. And this is a really intriguing game because they're both 1-2. And that's about where I expected the Dolphins. But the Bengals, I thought they might be 2-1 or 3-0. We had a couple injuries on defense. Trevor Burfict and Dre Kirkpatrick. Now, Kirkpatrick's one of those corners that he's all over the field, and he's going to break up plays He's got a really good eye for what's going on with the quarterback. And Burfict is just a monster. He's everywhere. He adds that extra fear, running up the middle or receiver coming across the middle. He's going to hit you. And they haven't been in. They could be back this game. The quarterbacks, they're pretty equal. Neither one of them, I think, are elite, top-of-the-line quarterbacks. But they both have some really good receivers to throw to. And, with Jarvis Landry, the kid's quick. He's got hands. This kid catches everything thrown his way. And he can make moves, and he can get down in the field once he gets the ball. The problem is Tannehill's, he's not as accurate as he should be. And I know he's been in the league a few years now, and he's better than options the Dolphins have. And he's getting better every year. But he's 5 TDs and 4 interceptions. And he's really got to cut back on those interceptions to get the Dolphins where they want to be. The big key in this game is not going to be Jarvis Landry or Andy Dalton to A.J. Green. It's going to be the running game. And I think Jeremy Hill will be the difference for the Cincinnati Bengals to pull this game out. The simple reason is there's really not a running game in Miami. There hasn't been one in years. Lamar Miller wasn't the answer. Honestly, right now, just thinking off the top of my head, I can't think of who their running back is. I'm sure that when I look it up after I'm done with this, I'll be like, duh. But that's the whole idea of the Miami running game. It's non-existent. But Jeremy Hill, I think, he'll get over 100 yards this game. He'll probably get 1 to 2 rushing touchdowns, and that'll free up 1 or 2 plays for A.J. Green to burn that defense deep. Now, Miami has a pretty good defense, but when you're going against a team that's come off a couple rough losses that they shouldn't have lost, Cincinnati is better than a 1-2 team. I think they're one of the elite teams in the AFC still, and when they're healthy, I think they'll make a run. They're going to have trouble with Pittsburgh, but I really don't see any other issues. The Baltimore Ravens are 3-0. They're another team that's playing on their defense right now, and I'm not going to argue that point because that's what my team's winning by. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals, 28-10, about get you a good score to go with. Like I said, you'll see a couple rushing touchdowns for Jeremy Hill, and I know Dalton will get Green at least once in the end zone. I just don't see Miami putting a lot of points up. Now, if Kirkpatrick or Burfict aren't back, if one of them are, neither of them are, you might get a 28-17. You might get a little more offense there on the Miami side, but I just don't see Miami being in this game. I would take the Bengals if you're a betting man, which I'm not. I'm not putting any money down. So that's just my quick rundown, a quick introduction of who I am, why I'm doing this. I just want to have fun. Again, wrestling, I usually predict what's going to go on down the road. Anybody who watches wrestling, AJ Styles came in back at the Royal Rumble in January. And I said before the end of the year he's going to have the WWE title. I told my wife that when he came in. He came in as a babyface but turned heel real quick. And I think they needed to do that with him simply to make the character work with the John Cena era. Cena's in and out. He's a part-timer, but he's still the face of the place. And right now, that's what is riding the whole thing for AJ Styles, who is now the champion. I called that. None of you know me that well, so you're going to be like, yeah, whatever. He can say whatever he wants because it's already happened. But here's one for you. I see the Shield rebuilding, coming back together. All 3 members, and this is why. If you watch the cage match on Monday night, you had last week, you had Seth Rollins come in to help Roman Reigns. Wasn't really helping Reigns. He was more attacking Rusev and Kevin Owens. But they had a little nod and smile in the ring earlier that night. They both dislike the authority and Triple H. And Triple H is kind of sticking his nose in business again. And I think you're going to see Triple H do some of that over on the SmackDown show. Even though it's not his show, he may appear, may cause some issues for Dean Ambrose. And at some point, the Shield will be tired of it. And they'll reform, whether it's just a temporary thing to get rid of the authority once and for all. But I really think that might be a direction they're going. Just my guess. Again, I like to try and predict these things down the road. They had a great, matchup with Rusev and Roman Reigns for the last couple of months, and Roman finally got another title after he messed up and got suspended for abusing the wellness policy. So you knew he wasn't going to hold on to a big title for, a while after that. That's how the WWE works. That's how most places with that work. He's not going to be the guy if they can't trust the guy. So if you guys have any questions, want me to talk about anything on wrestling, want me to give any predictions on anything, I'm not real good at doing match by match on pay-per-views. I like to try and do that. My boys and I will sit and watch them, and sometimes I win, sometimes one of my boys wins. We just have fun with it. But I'm really good at trying to figure out what's going to happen down the road and how they're going to break things up. The New Day is going to end up having a weak link, and I think they're all going to go singles again. I could be wrong. They could lose their belts and get them back. But I really think they might, have Xavier Rhodes be the quote-unquote weak link and have some falling out once they lose the titles, and just kind of all go solo, or maybe contracts will be coming up soon and one of them will move on to something else. That affects things a lot, the contract issues that none of us really see, but when you read into it and look into it and do research on it, you figure out that's why people are leaving. They're coming and going. They're not happy with the contract. They want more money. They want less airtime. They want more airtime. And that changes how the storylines have to be written, because I'm sure the writers have a direction to go, and they alter it simply because of a contract issue or an injury. So I love it. I'll talk about it all day long. I can talk football. When baseball season comes back around, I'll be a little more on top of it as I'm getting back into my baseball league and have to know more about what's going on with it. And, of course, basketball season's coming up, and the under-the-radar team to watch is going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. Anything else you want to know, email me. We can talk. I can talk about it on air. I'll try and answer questions. I'll post these when I'm done with them, and I hope you all enjoy it. This is called The Buck Stops Here, and I'm Greg Buck Dietzen, and you can email me at thebuckstopshere with an underscore between each word, and that's at yahoo.com. Thank you, and have a wonderful night or day, depending on when you're watching this.